Welcome to 5 More Minutes, useful videos in about 5 minutes that support the teaching and learning of all students. I'm your host, Dr. Shelley Moore, and today's episode is called Reassessing the Rubric. Okay, rubrics, you know them. It's what we use to build criteria to help kids know what they're learning. This is what they look like, and they're connected to assignments and learning standards. Rubrics can be very powerful teaching, learning, and assessment tools that are even more impactful when the students are involved in their construction. Originally, rubrics were meant to offer options for grade level proficiency by creating windows of achievement. This way, students could be assessed based on their growth over time. If you have heard of differentiated instruction, rubrics were created as a way to differentiate curriculum. But then the internet got their hands on them. If you've gone to check your local rubric building website, you'll see that rubrics have really moved away from windows and moved towards deficiency scales based on frequency. This is a bit of a problematic trend because it's contaminated rubrics and as a result shifted them away from the very design principles that made them useful and inclusive. Here's an example. Let's look at this sandwich rubric that I found. Guess where I found it? The internet. The goal for this rubric is I can make a sandwich. And now let's look at these indicators of success. Bread alone is not a sandwich. Make sandwiches inconsistently. Make sandwiches frequently, but with some errors. Sophisticated sandwich making skills. You went above and beyond and threw in a bag of chips. Okay, problem number 1, all they've done is photoshopped out parts of the sandwich. There's only one option here, and the rest are deficits of that one option. No! Second problem, if making the sandwich is a goal, can we please take out the chips and pop? This is like giving grades for using glitter. Okay, problem number 3. I like bologna and mustard sandwiches. Does that mean I'm an inconsistent sandwich maker? No, it just means that I like less complex sandwiches than people who like onions and tomatoes. I still meet the goal, I just meet a less complex version of the goal. The important part is this. Both my bologna sandwich and the onion version, they both have bread. So you can see what the problem is here. Where rubrics were originally intended to offer a range of success, they've turned into an illusion of choice because there's only one option. Now, if there's one thing I agree with, it is this, that bread alone is not a sandwich. But if you think about it, bread is also essential to a sandwich. Without the bread, it's a salad. So how about we actually talk about the bread? Let's actually describe what the bread is instead of what a sandwich isn't. We also need to know what makes a sandwich a sandwich. This is called the concept. In this way, a sandwich is one topping between 2 slices of bread. Unless, of course, you're Danish, but we'll save the beauty of småbrød for another day. Whether you have 1 topping or 17 toppings, they're both still a sandwich. One's just more complex. But both of them actually start in the same place. So let's look at a real-life standard. What might this look like? Here's one about multiplication. What would this be as a sandwich? If we look at the goal, student will know all the products of 2-digit numbers. What would the bread and 1 topping be? How could we add on complexity for the onion lovers? The bread of multiplication is repeated addition. And adding on a topping to that sandwich is understanding that multiplication can be used with a variety of digits. So how about we start with the most accessible 1-digit numbers? So a possible sequence of complexity might look something like this. Let's start with the concept. I can use repeated addition to multiply 1-digit numbers. I can multiply 1-digit numbers that include 1, 2s, and 5s. Do you see how those are the most accessible 1-digit numbers? This is the goal for everybody. But we can also add on more toppings so students can go further. They know where to go next. Let's even add a 3rd scaffold to provide 3 options for complexity of the standard. Do you see how the indicators are increasing? For some reason, this is making me very hungry for baked potatoes. If we're actually going to really teach to student variability, the other thing we have to consider is that we have to create an access point to the standard so that everyone can start with success. We also need a challenge point so students can extend their thinking beyond the standard. These access and challenge points can be outside of a specific grade level standard. and responsively designed for the specific students who need it. What makes it inclusive, though, is that those access and challenge points are available to anyone. Putting it all together, we now have this beautiful continuum that allows for any student to enter based on where they are, and they know exactly where to go next. It also doesn't limit students, though, who want to push themselves further. It's creating access without sacrificing challenge, and vice versa. This approach honors the original intent of rubrics and provides a predicted sequence of complexity that directly reflects the range of student needs in your class. But it also doesn't abandon the standard. This is differentiated curriculum. Differentiated curriculum is an inclusive way to plan, teach, and assess learning standards. And to separate these rubrics from their contaminated predecessor, they are starting to be called learner progressions or learning continuums. Now imagine how powerful they would be if they were built with the students. Okay, here's your challenge for today. Go look at your rubrics. Are they created using frequency or deficit-based language, or do they increase in complexity? How can you work with your students to shift the language so that they're communicating this predicted journey of complexity and clearly describing what students need to do instead of telling them what they aren't doing? And make sure that they have an access and a challenge point. This will provide the entry and the exit points to grade level standards for all students. And I actually mean all students. Thank you for watching today's episode of 5 More Minutes. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and give it a share with your friends. Stay connected to learn more about the research and resources that align with the big ideas from this video, including discussion questions, a practical strategy, and the 5 More Minutes podcast. We'll see you next time.